Okay, good afternoon, Greg. How are you today?
I'm good. Keith, how are you?
Good, good. How was your week so far? I know it's only Tuesday.
It's Tuesday feels like Thursday already.
Every week that goes by, it's so fast. It's like every time I turn around, it's another Monday.
But that's good. When time's going fast, that's when you know you're doing something you
Yes,
enjoy and you have a passion for. So
yes.
it's
And
good.
and we seem to be enjoying our BizTalk weekly. So it's like we said last week, we both look forward to it.
We do. We had a good discussion last week. I think we're gonna pick up where we left off in the last one.
Yes, yes. So uh I guess I'll give you our audience a little recap. So, last week we spoke about finance and operations, which is really um, your area of expertise. It's my weakness, your strength. And now we get to talk about marketing and sales, which is really my area. So take it away. I'm ready for whatever you got for me.
Yeah, and we're really focusing right now, the last week and this week, Keith, we're really focusing on kind of a startup situation. Somebody who's just starting a company, what are the things they should be concerned about? And like you said, we talked a lot last week about the finance side of things. But tell me a little bit, what do you think from a sales standpoint? What kind of strategies might somebody think about to acquire kind of those initial customers or clients they need?
So it's a bigger topic in the sense that, the first thing I think about is, it is customer acquisition, no matter how you slice it. But what kind of business is it? It's like, am I a brick and mortar business, like a restaurant, clothing store, shoe store, or am I an online business? Or to take it further, am I both online and offline? Because all of that determines the type of strategy for customer acquisition. So I like to go back to my own history when I talk about starting a business
Mhm.
pre-internet. I want to say it's prehistoric. So,
You're not that old.
I know. I like to joke about that, but in the pre-internet days, everything was local. You did not go outside of your 3 to 5 mile radius where you advertise, because most people like to shop local. You go to your local supermarket, your local dry cleaner, your local pizza store. So that's where you focus your marketing efforts for customer acquisition. Now, in the world we live in today, you can start an online business. You could be global, providing your product is global in nature.
Mhm.
But I still think that if you are a brick and mortar business, you still got to focus on that 3 to 5 mile territory, local media. But now you can attract customers in a different way, because what's key, and I don't understand anybody that's in business today to not have a website, you know, even just for the sake of brand building and presence. So, if you're in business and you own a restaurant, yes, people are going to find out about you. They may drive into a shopping center where your restaurant exists, or they may get a friend that refers, uh, you to that particular establishment. But in terms of marketing, uh, there's still, in terms of like the brick and mortar world, there's still local media. You still, direct mail. There's still local papers. Those have not gone away. But now, where you can actually introduce customers to your online presence in your own establishment, through whether it's a flyer, whether it's a business card. And, I always recommend to my clients is that they always list their website address on any materials, and of course on your website.
Sure.
So,
It sounds like you're saying, Keith, that website's really critical, whether it's um, a resource for folks to come to and find out more information, or whether it's a way for them to interact with your new company.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you want to reach people today, most of them are online. I mean, people live online today. They're always searching.
Yeah.
So if you were to advertise on Facebook, Facebook has groups. Facebook has a local component to it, so that you can type in restaurants hot hug, okay, which is where I live on Long Island. So there are ways for people to find you, and if you're not there, they don't find you. So I always suggest not just a website, but social presence, that you have a Facebook, not just from a personal side, but from a business side as well. So you have a Facebook business page. And what comes with that is also Instagram, which is part of, is owned by Facebook.
Right.
So they're two different mediums. One is more of a visual medium versus, a messaging medium. But all of those are important that people can find you, because invariably people are on Facebook checking things out with their friends, or they want to find out about, what's going on in your particular territory or your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
What's the latest in new food, new dining experiences. Um, Notice I keep going to food. Wonder why. So, um, but I think that from that perspective is you start with the basics. You establish, if you are a brick and mortar business, you have a website built that's mobile responsive, because most people are on their smartphones.
Yeah, excellent point.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and then have the different social networks. The question I get asked a lot: do I need to be on every social network? The answer is no, but it also depends upon the type of business that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your target audience? If you're targeting business people, okay, LinkedIn is a business to business network.
Right.
And Twitter as well. Twitter is, people, a lot of business people, a lot of people that, want to hear the latest news of what's going on. All the famous people that are spouting their garbage.
Right.
So, those are areas that obviously you can advertise on. But there's two types of advertising, and I don't want to get too deep in because it will become confusing, but there's paid advertising and there's organic advertising. The difference between the two is paid is obvious. You have to pay in order to get what's called impressions. So that, impressions are your ad is visualized by the audience that you target. So if I want to target males aged 35 to 55, I can do that on social networks.
Sure.
If I want to target females that like to dine out, okay, 25 to 34. So it's very similar to what traditional media sold under, you buy media based on demographics, so that you can determine who your audience, not determine, you already know who your audience is at that point, but you're targeting that specific audience.
But I think what's interesting today now, Keith, is you can get so micro-targeted, right? Because you can get right down to, even TV ads today. Not all the same people see the same ads on TV because of the way
That's
the
correct.
cable companies now or streaming services can identify individually who's watching and basically broadcast a specific ad right to them.
Right. It's called segmentation.
Yeah.
Basically, if you show, and by the way, they're able to actually track through
Right.
the different mediums. So, you were just on a website, okay, on your phone, and then you go to your computer. It's actually following you. It's kind of scary to think about it. And then you're on your TV. If you have a smart TV, you also, like you just said, ads
Yeah.
are being shown to you based on what you're showing that you're interested in. Okay, so your search, terms that you're using, you know, um, clothing stores, Manhattan, which is New York. You
Mhm.
know, basically, they'll run an ad for one of an advertiser that's, you know, looking for that customer. So it's really, it's overwhelming, especially for new businesses. And that's why I said I, you know, wanted to be careful not to get too granular because it's really an overview. But these are things that a new business will have to think about. And I would leave it as the first step is presence. Forgetting about, you know, how much or when is you start with making sure, you know, you have a home on the web.
Mhm.
You know? So
Well, Keith, let's switch your gears here just a little bit and talk a little bit about a new business owner thinking about pricing strategies for their products or services. What kind of things should they be considering for an effective price strategy? And also thinking about that in terms of profitability and how it affects profitability. So you want to attract, you want to attract new customers who maybe need some incentive to come try you, and yet you want to be, as a new business owner, you want to become profitable as reasonably quick as you can. Talk a little bit about that.
such an interesting question because, you know, how you attract an audience. There's a lot of different ways to do it. One is price, okay, you know, discounting, which is probably, you know, been around since, you know, beginning of time when it comes to business. It's like, how do you get a customer to come to you? Okay, so one is advertise, and you could do what basic generic advertising. It's called institutional advertising, where it has nothing to do with price. It has everything to do with messaging, imagery. You know, so an example of that, and again, I'm going to restaurants, but you see a picture of a beautiful restaurant showing it's a gorgeous picture of the inside of the restaurant, and then they have the dishes that they cooked it. Look, you're so hungry, you're looking, oh, that place just opened. And oh, I got to try that place. Okay, so that's institutional advertising with imagery, no coupons. Okay. Now, the question is, why would you not do a coupon? Well, I could tell you if I'm a very fine restaurant and I'm trying to establish an image and a thought process and a type of clientele, I don't want coupon cutters. Chances are the coupon cutters can't afford, you know, to spend $100 a person between dinner and drinks and dessert. So your pricing strategy will be different than a pizza store who sells pizza and dishes and heroes, and they're going to have 2 for 1. They're going to have, you know, $1 off. They're going to have, you know, Tuesday is Friday. I mean, all the different things that we've all seen through the years with every business that discounts. So when you're thinking about a pricing strategy as a startup, you got to do your homework. You got to look at your competition. You got to say, okay, if I'm in this industry and here's my top 5 competitors in my area, I want to know, one, do they have a good reputation? What does their place look like? You know, is it inviting? Is it something that, you know, people want to go there? I would actually go and shop the place, you know, and get a sense of who's running the place. I'm looking for differentiators now. That's what I'm looking for to determine what kind of a business do I want to operate. Do I want to operate a discount operation or high-end operation? But at the end of the day, it still comes down to dollars and cents profitability.
Yeah, I think your comments are really hitting, Keith, on, you know, what kind of business am I? I always think of the hotel approach, right? You know, there's the Quality Inn, right? There's the Red Roof Inn, and then there's very high end hotels, right? And you need to make sure your pricing strategy fits your your business strategy and your clientele, right? I think what you're saying is that folks who go to Quality Inn, they're okay with a $5 or $10 off discount. But somebody who's staying at, the Hyatt and the Ritz-Carlton would probably laugh at a discount being offered. You don't need one to draw people into those kind of places because they're buying for other reasons.
That's correct. So it's a different crowd, different audience, but nevertheless, you can't lose sight of the fact that everybody likes the best price. Doesn't have to be a discount per se, but they want the best price. And what the internet opened up to the world is the opportunity. It's like a bidding war, travel and hospitality. You have all of these websites that aggregate and compete. It's literally in almost like a bidding environment. So you could still be a high-end customer, but still looking for the best price.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
in the hotel environment, they have to fill their rooms because guess what? You can't sell the room tomorrow, the last night. It's
Right.
done. Empty
Right.
rooms is empty pockets. So, and same thing with an airline. There are certain businesses that, your business is built on number of available seats, okay, that you can fill. And how often do you fill them? The restaurant world, it's how quickly can you turn, how often can you turn a table? You say, why does he know all this stuff? Well, I actually owned the restaurant magazine at one time. One of my many entrepreneurial efforts.
Well, that was a good discussion, Keith, but let's turn that just a little differently and talk about how does a business differentiate themselves then from their competition in some of these crowded markets. You talked a little bit about restaurant, we talked about hotels. I think some people think, well, a hotel is a hotel, right? Talk a little bit about what a business owner might do to provide a difference between them and the many competitors they are faced with.
There's a couple of ways, okay? You go into a business, and if you decide that I'm going to be what I call a me too, in other words, there's a pizza shop on that corner, there's a pizza shop on the other corner, and I'm going to open up one right in the middle, and I'm selling pizza, okay, and heroes, and they all sell pizza and heroes, okay. So that now, as a business owner, you say, well, okay, I went there before I opened. I ate there. It was okay. The owner was really nice. Okay, really, I have to say, I'm competing with him or her now, but the owner was great, very friendly, always there. Okay, go to the other place, always discounting. The place is a little bit, looks like 1995. They haven't refreshed the place. So what I'm trying to do is paint for you two different pictures of
Yeah.
I want to open up a pizza place. It's been my dream. I want to have a pizza shop. So now what do? How do I differentiate myself? Well, the first thing I think of the quality of my food. Okay. So my food has to be exceptional. Okay. It can't be less than my competitors. Okay. So maybe you went to, chef school. Okay. And I'm making this up, but you specialized in Italian. Okay, and you have all these famous recipes that you brought back. You traveled to Italy, you learned about how to cook certain dishes that most Italian, even a pizza place, would never have. Okay, I just gave you an example of how you differentiate yourself. They have some veal dish that you can't even name the name because nobody's ever heard of it, but it's veal Greg. Okay, what is veal Greg? Veal. I'm going to call it veal Gregory. It sounds better. So, so now so you see where I'm going as far as differentiation. I'm saying, okay, so let this be a food differentiator. Then it could be ambiance. Okay. Yes, I'm a pizza place in the front, but I got the restaurant in the back. I have great wines, I have great service,
Yeah, the experience.
right. The experience, so my food is exceptional. Again, the food's always got to be exceptional. Okay, that's like the one place that could never fall down in a restaurant is it's the quality of its food. That and service, I think, work hand in.
Right. Correct. Yep.
So the differentiating part still comes down to, I still think, who's at the head. You know, whoever the boss, the owner, the manager, whoever that person is driving the direction. Okay, and it still comes down to what's the plan. You and I have spoken about this. More often than not, people go in to a business without any real direction. They know what they want to do, okay, but they don't know how, okay, and they don't even know to ask or think about how can I differentiate myself.
Right.
You know, so this is a great question, and you know, if we were talking to, you know, a client that wanted to, you know, start a business, we would be going through this exploratory process, you know, to tell me about what you want to do. Tell me how you think you're going to be different. You know, you have pizza stores within 5 miles. There's 15 pizza stores, okay, maybe more. So what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? You know, what's going to make you better? How are you going to pull people to Gregory's Pizza that are going to Johnny's Pizza? Okay, what's going to drive them to you? First thing you have to do is, and this is one of my favorite saying, you don't get a second chance to make a good first impression.
Right.
That first impression has got to be unbelievable. And how do they wind up in your particular establishment? More often than not, they're in a mall, okay, they're in a busy street, somebody's walking, they're hungry, they stop in, they eat your food, and they're like, wow, that was so good. Or they go in and go, wasn't that good, you know? So now they're not going back to Gregory's. You know, I'm gonna stick to Johnny's. I'm not going, that place, they opened up, but not so good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they go in and the pizza was cold, you know, or the person who greeted them was, you know, not too friendly. I'm such a big proponent of first impression and how you treat people, and not just treat them on the way in, but over time, your communication with them, your second communication with them, consistency. You
Yeah.
know, if someone has a problem, you solve the problem. So,
Yeah. 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 I think that interaction is so important from a business standpoint, especially in a, you know, in a B2C situation where you end up, I think, relying a lot on customer referrals, right? When you're in a situation where, like you said, that first impression you make on those first clients coming into your establishment and their ability to share that information with friends. And today with social media, you know, and Google and Bing, there's so many ways for people to share the experience they had, both good and bad.
yeah, well, and that's what's scary today is what you just said, is because, you know, if someone didn't like your place years ago, they just didn't go back. And yeah, they're going to tell some friends like, yeah, they won't specifically say, oh, by the way, don't go to Gregory's Pizzeria unless it was that bad. That's when people start, you know, the first thing is like right away, they tell their wife or husband or the kids, and it's like, you know, so it becomes a real like, and that, you know, bad news spreads quickly,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So today they could just jump online, you know, as you said, go to Bing, go to Google, go to Yelp, you know, and they start, you know, give you 1 star or 0, and they write a bad review, okay? And then people look at that, you know, people say, well, is that real? Some of it's not real, okay? When you have like 5 responses, that there might be 5 people that are in your family. But when you start to get to the point where there's 100 or more responses, you see how many of them are 5 stars, 4 stars, you know, where you could actually say, all right, even if you wiped out 25% of the 5 stars, okay, there's enough of the 5 stars, enough of the 4 stars, you know. So there's too much opportunity to have people, you know, hurt you,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and really hurt your reputation. So it's, everything you do, again, there's no such thing as a perfect business owner. Okay, but if you make a mistake and something bad happens, and let's say the person never told you, but you have to watch your online reviews, which most people, if they're in that situation, they get emailed, okay, that, it's a Google review, just, and you see, whoa, what is this, 1 star? And it could be a time, for whatever reason, the owner was on vacation, or he was off,
Right.
she was off, and it's like, damn, my manager stinks. It's like, why is this happening when I'm not there? Well, guess what? You're responsible. You're the owner. If your people are not running your business the way you want them to when you're not there, you didn't train them properly.
Keith, I had an interesting experience just a couple weeks ago that I think lends itself to this discussion. But I was parking at an off airport parking lot, returning from a trip, and you have to wait for the van to pick you up, right? And I waited a long time for the van to pick me up to bring me back to the facility, about 45 minutes. And so I got there, I got in my car, and I was not happy, obviously, with the wait, but I was glad to be home and just wanted to get going. And I went to check out, you pull into the gate to check out, and the guy says, well, I prepaid for my parking. And so I thought he was just going to open the gate and let me out. And he said, well, that'll be $450. And I said, why do I owe an extra $450? And he said, well, because you were late getting here. I said, I was late getting here to my car because you guys were late picking me up. And you could just tell it was one of those situations where it's an employee who has a script to follow, and just he didn't know what to do.
He or she could do.
Right?
And see, we've lost a lot.
He upset me. The company upset me over $4.50. And I went on and wrote a review online and gave him, I would have given him 0 stars, but I gave him 1 star because that's the lowest you can give. But it just goes to show how in our business world, it's so easy to, have our workers, our employees make bad decisions based on some policy we have in place. And it's really, in the long term, really costly.
Yeah, I think we've lost some of that, personal relationship, the ability for people to be human as opposed to like following a script and say, oh no, page 3 of my manual says we have to charge $4.50. And it's like, you can't, that person cannot even make a decision
Right.
that provable item. It's like, okay, this person, the reason I waived the fee was because we, as an organization, did not pick them up timely. Okay. And everybody's subject to review, but I don't think it'd be too difficult for them to figure out that the people that were supposed to pick you up made you wait 45 minutes.
Yeah, well, it was their van, right? I mean, they were the ones supposed to pick me up. So it was themselves that caused me to be late. And there was just no kind of recognition of the impact that, they were having on their customer.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate. And people have to really, I mean, when I say people, companies, whether it's a 1-person company or a major corporation, the really great ones train for every eventuality. In other words, when they're going over something as little as this, they've already have, what do I do when this scenario happens? Okay, what am I allowed to do? Am I allowed to waive a fee? Or is this going to be, I'm sorry, sir, but, I know it was our fault, but you're out $4.50 because the machine says so. It's a machine. I can't
Right.
change the machine.
Right.
Think about how impersonal that is.
Yeah. 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 I think when if you're a company that has employees, it's really important that you express your values to those employees. And I would say one value every business should have is that they demand a high level of customer service. customer satisfaction. And that doesn't mean the customer is always right, because I understand there are times when there are unreasonable customers. But still having employees in place who understand that they should be doing almost everything possible to make sure that that customer leaves satisfied.
Yeah, I really believe very strongly in exceptional customer service. Because that's, you can get people in the door, but you're not going to keep them coming back if your service is not good.
Well, I know I won't go back to that parking facility again, and and I'm I think we've entered a time period where, as you said, Keith, that we're impressed when we see a high level of customer service, and it wants us to come back and do more and more business with that kind of company. And I think that's really critical in all of our discussion here around a new business, is really making sure that those initial clients have a really positive experience in your restaurant, in your building, in your website, wherever it is that they're coming in contact with you, that they leave there really feeling good about your company and what you offer.
Yeah, no question. So as we end this week's podcast, I think for me, and you could obviously whatever your takeaway is, but the takeaway for me is that starting a business is hard. It's not something that anybody can wake up and just say, I think I'm gonna start a business today. And there's a tremendous amount of planning that goes into starting a business. And I think that if you have the proper people that you can reach out to, and it doesn't have to be a coach like us, but somebody who's got the experience that they can mentor you and give you, the direction that you need, so that you don't make a lot of mistakes early on that could basically bury you very quickly in business.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. Good. I think for me, the takeaway was your discussion early on about this differentiation, and really having a plan for what you want your business to look like and how you want it to be different from all the other choices clients or customers would have. Really setting yourself apart and differentiating you from others is critical.
No question about it. So another week gone by. Can't believe it. It's like, well, this was fun. I'm sure that those who watch it will enjoy it, and I enjoyed this week as usual with you, and I look forward to our next session. We don't know yet. It'll be surprised when we send out to our followers what we're going to talk about.
Excellent. I look forward to it. That time goes fast, Keith, and I think I appreciate your comments today, and your comment regarding, I think, business being you're starting a business being a challenge. I'm living that right now, but I also think it's very fulfilling and it's very enjoyable. So we are certainly not trying to turn people off of that. We would like to see more people own businesses. So yeah, this was good. Let's do it again next week.
All right, looking forward to it. Good night, everyone.
Good night.